Sabah al-Khair. Good morning, everyone. This is the meetup regarding names 2024 Makerspace, where we will be talking with our dear colleague Samar Kirish, advisor and science art and maker education key expert, regarding the organization of Names 2024 Conference Makerspace. Samar will be sharing some tips and information about maker spaces, and then we will ask her some questions. And if you have any questions, please write them in the chat, and we will ask them to Samar to answer them. So let's start, Samar.
Good morning, everyone. Well, maker spaces are actually, about community. So this would be our focus to create ourselves as a community, and we need to start somewhere. And starting at the conference with names, with having all these colleagues and educators and museum professionals around us, is actually a great opportunity to invest in. So I'll be sharing just a small presentation that might tell us a bit about how things could be. Actually, we are towards building ourselves together as a community, and as you know, conferences are meetup spaces actually, and maker spaces are about all meeting up. So having a maker space at a conference is actually a very important thing because it's a platform. It's a place where we can collaborate, we can present, we can talk, we can contribute, we can grow, we can improve actually by sharing our innovation, our creativity, our experience, our problems. It's all about fostering that professional development and growth of the community and the growth of the experience that we need. So there are different benefits for being in a conference where you share your experience, you share your knowledge, you connect with peers. Networking is very important. We are a sharing community, and makers share their processes, they share their pedagogy, they share their failure. So it's where we network, where we see other makers, we showcase our projects and programs and best practices, and at the same time we also explore. We explore tools, resources, new ideas, and these hands-on workshops that we do, we present the actual experience. So it's beyond the academia of, we can discuss it in an academic, we can discuss the research, but at the same time we're presenting hands-on workshops where we experience we practice reflection as educators and practitioners. So we share, we discuss, we collaborate in sessions. So it's not just about one person presenting a session. It's just the same. Workshops are the same as panel sessions. We can collaborate into presenting these sessions. We brainstorm together, and we even create strategies. We talk about policies, and we share insights in maker education and learning, and how we can influence education both inside museum context and outside museum context. And the thing is, when you are in a conference, there is that global side of everything. So it's not just about what do I do in my space or what do I do at a local collaborative way, a community. I mean, in my own country, it's global. I can in a conference, people come in from different places, and they share their experience, which could be culture based, it could be environmentally even specific when you're talking about making and the environment. So it's that global side that's also important in these conferences. So the thing is, what do we talk about in such conferences? Well, actually, we can talk about everything. So these are just a few titles that we look at when we are talking about maker education. We can talk about the curriculum, schools, libraries, where does making and thinking take place, and how does it shape itself? What form does it take? We can there's lots of talk nowadays about maker education and STEAM education. How is it affected? How does the hands-on side of it enhance STEAM learning? How do we assess and evaluate the learning? How do we assess and evaluate our activities? How we design them? What are maker spaces doing outside museums? How could that be related to what's happening inside museums? What professional development could be built upon maker education? What is needed? So, and we can go to topics like coding, and we can do digital, non-digital. There is no limit on what learning and what are the learning tools that are being used. It's all about sharing all details. We also work on a very important thing, which is community engagement. How do we engage with our communities? What are we bringing to the community, and how is the community responding? What I mean for us, maybe in the MENA region, it's a little bit different from, let's say, talking about Europe. How does the community respond to the maker education and to maker spaces in general? So we have lots of questions that we try to answer in our maker spaces, but at the same time, these are experiences that are needed for others to start on their maker space or their maker education, or in a school, in a library, in a museum, in any educational context. So how does a makerspace look in a conference? I mean, when we look at our makerspaces, they are so full of resources, machinery, spaces where we work, where we get, untidy a lot. But it doesn't matter because, I mean, through my personal experience, I've been going to this place like Maker Excite for years now. So looking at the different spaces we had, I mean, in 2023, we were in an ancient 1,500-year hall. We prepared it to become a maker space. In 2016, it was a general workshop room. In 2017, it was actually part of a big hall that had only mobile separate walls, and we were just among everybody. And in 2019, we were in a maker space room that was specific, which is something that we in each one of the spaces, we're sending a different message. So no matter what the space that is given to us by a conference, it doesn't matter because we created to become a makerspace. And this is part of the pedagogies that we seek for, that making is about a mindset. It's about practices. It's not about a space or tools or material. So no matter how simple is your makerspace and how you reflect it in the conference, it doesn't matter. It's about what you do and what you make and what you create, and the pedagogy and the experience and the community and the audience. So it's not about the physical space. But the important thing is that in all these cases, we set up the space. We work on setting up the space. So in this ancient room, we had to set up a space with a totally blackout so we can play with light. We work together as teams. We, even though the conference might have a sign outside, but we still have our comments that we would like to share. So we put in that sign outside. We work together into setting every detail of the space. And we also like to send messages, and we add characters. So we put in and display different items that we bring with us. So I might not be talking about a certain topic, but I would like to share a glimpse on it. So I just bring it and demonstrate it, and people ask questions, and that type of raising communication and instigating communication by items or by projects or by printouts that I bring from my space. This all enhances the learning experience that is put forward when you work in a makerspace. In this case in specific, we had to cover everything with brown paper, and then we put our own touch into creating it. We put items of different projects that we use. Um, we decorate the space with the limits of, of course, we respect the place, but it's about adding character, our character as a community, what we feel would bring in the audience, what we feel will engage more people, and draw them in more to ask, what are you doing, how do we do it, and get in people to know more about what we do. So in a maker space, we are always makers in action. We present, we learn, we collaborate, and these are different, parts of what we do. We put forward our work for discussion and reflection. We share our activities, workshops, research, experiences, problems, failures, and at the same time and activities, and we become learners ourselves. So being in the learners disposition in a maker space, in a conference, it's part of our pedagogy as learners, as makers, but at the same time it is what we do when we go to a conference. We go totally open-minded to learn, to collaborate, to help each other, and most important, we also enjoy being in the community. So being in the community of makers is actually an intellectual privilege. It tackles us, it makes us happy to be with like-minded people, thinking together, sharing, and learning more. So so this is what we hope that we can do together as makers. We can create that community, and that community has no specific description. It's a maker community. So it doesn't have a specific description. We create together as a community. We create our space, we create our activities, our program, and we put everybody in focus with us to come in and share and learn and teach us what they know.
Thank you, Summer, for this introduction. It's very beneficial, I think, and it covers my first question. The first question I was going to ask you was, what are maker spaces at international conferences? Are what do they look like? Maybe the second part of this question you already described to us the maker spaces in international conferences. The second part of this question, before we go deeper into the makerspace that we are hoping to develop for NAMES 2024, how is a makerspace interesting to all conference attendees, not just makers and thinkers? Is it interesting for everyone attending the conference?
Well, actually, it's sometimes it's even a runaway space for people who come in. They come in into the conference and they are worried about their presentations and their research and how they are presenting it. And now finding a maker space is one space where you meet new people, and usually those are. They have a character which has some sort of liberty to express and work. And in a maker space, you can learn about STEAM education, you can learn about research, you can have a hands-on workshop. And at the same time, we encourage people who have lost a button and need to fix it, and who have a shoe heel that has been broken and they want to fix it. If they have a pen, a pencil, I don't know what, that has broken, they can come and fix it also in that space. So it's a social networking space that could become central to the conference people, where they come in and learn new things and experience something. So it's personal, it's beyond business and professional development. It's something that it's a place where people can join in and learn something new, but at the same time it's a personal experience that is enjoyable. So and we build upon that, because in maker education, play is a very important thing. It's a way of learning. So we invite all conference attendees to come in and play, and that play is apt to make a change in many perspectives, in what they do, in even exhibit design, because tinkering and making is basic to exhibit design, for example. It's one of the ways, but at the same time, we cross with the idea of design thinking and all that design process. So it's not just about makers coming into the space. It's about all museum professionals who would find a connection, like those also interested in art and science. How does art intersect with science? The makerspace is one good way of finding different intersections. STEAM learning, STEAM educators are apt to come in and see different examples, hands-on example. The hands-on value gives you sort of a museum experience inside the conference.
Great, thank you, Samar. Another question that is also relevant, and it's from our dear colleague Shirin Samanek. She asked it in the chat. What about the possibility of opening the makerspace for special sessions with exhibitors and attendees, where exhibitors present tinkering activities? This way, the tinker space embodies the spirit of exhibition making and enables attendees and exhibitors to mingle in a creative space.
Well, that's totally required, actually. There are no restrictions on who is going to present in a makerspace. You can be an educator, you can be an exhibit designer. It's more about putting the mindset and pedagogy and principles into action in a makerspace. So, I mean, we had this idea of having what are tinkerable exhibits, for example, and how can we create tinkering activities that relate to exhibits? How does tinkering and making go into the process of exhibit design? I mean, exhibitors and exhibit designers are some of the community that is actually practicing tinkering and making. So they are more welcome, and it's true. The diversity of people engaging in a makerspace is the thing that would make it richer. The more diverse, the more inclusive the space is, and the more diverse the community is, the better is the benefit and engagement in the space.
So now let's talk more focused on NAMES 2024. First, what is the vision for NAMES 2024 Makerspace? Will it be the same as the other makerspaces you described to us, or will it different? How will it be unique? Will it be unique?
I think the uniqueness comes in from the participation. Who is coming in and what is the community that is creating the makerspace at NAMES? So who is participating? We are looking forward for people who are going to put forward maker-related sessions, whether panel sessions, workshops, activities, whatever they think they can present. Even if they have a new format that they think of, they are welcome to suggest. But and we together then we might be joining together and looking at all the proposals, and then as a community we build the program together and we see our needs, we look at the space that we are in, and together we build and shape that NAMES Makerspace 2024. And the thing is, with this kickoff, what we want to send as a message is that 25, 26 will be different, 28 will be different. So it's about, there are pillars, I mean, and focal points that we keep on emphasizing each year, because these are part of the maker education and maker movement. But people and individuals, because it's about community, and community is always diverse, and that diversity is richness. So each year, that community is the one who's putting forward the character and the form and the shape of a NAMES Makerspace. So the more, the merrier, as simple as it could be put. But professionally, diversity is important.
Okay, that's great. We have spoken about the makerspace in general, about the participants, the contributors in general. I think that people who are interested in participating in the makerspace as contributors, maybe they want to learn more about the types of sessions they can propose or they can be part of. So it is mentioned in the call for contributions that makerspace sessions can be theoretical or practical. Can you elaborate more on what you mean by a
Yeah.
theoretical or a practical session for makerspace?
Mhm. Well, theoretical means in the form of a presentation. It could be a panel session, it could be a discussion, it could be questions and answers, or it could be a small starter with something hands-on and then reflecting on it. It could be putting forward a problem that I'm as a maker, I'm putting it forward to share. It's an opportunity to have this community around me as makers. Maybe they can help me solve that problem. So, in a panel session, in a theoretical presentation, in putting forward questions, I mean, even a theoretical session, it's not about putting a presentation. It's about putting in something to reflect on, to think about together. So it can take even a playful form. It could be like starts with a starter, an icebreaker, and then it can go into discussion, and then into it could be a round table. I mean, there are so many forms where you can present your theory, the way you think, the research you are doing, the questions that you have, or ideas that you want to put forward for discussion. With the workshops, it's more about the hands-on, and the hands-on is not just about putting in an activity. So when we share hands-on, we do share the activity, but there's always a theoretical background for it. I mean, a workshop could be about how do we enhance STEAM learning. So there is that theory of STEAM learning in our backheads, but what we are presenting are different activities that can support that. So our title might be STEAM and tinkering, okay? But we're presenting our different experiences. The thing is with these workshops is I would like to see them as different, like having three presenters on STEAM education, each one presenting their own activity. The thing is with these sessions is that each participant coming into the makerspace will have a chance to one-to-one talking with the activity presenter. So it's not just a distance. People are not at distance. People are at a chance of directly communicating and putting and posing their questions to the one presenting at the table. So I would have like an electricity or circuitry activity going on where I will be talking about using like cardboard circuits in STEAM education. And that any participant coming into that session will have the ability to come in and ask me, how do you use it? How are you going to go further with it? How are people responding? So they can pose their questions directly to the presenter. And having other presenters in the room actually gives in different perspectives, multiple experiences. It's not just about one presenter I'm interacting with. So it's a chance in the workshop to do the activity, internalize it. It's an experience for the participant. At the same time, they can directly communicate with the maker who is doing the theory and research and actually implementing the activity. So you can get the benefit of both. So and makers are usually they kind of jump beyond or get act out of the box. So we do encourage people to get out of the box.
Now we will go into the details of how can people contribute, the technical questions for contributors or interested contributors. And again, we will try to ask everything possible, but if anyone has a question, please put it in the chat. You can just send us an email if you have any question. And there is the conference website, which is www.namesnetwork.org/names2024. But you can always send us an email directly to namesnetwork@bibalex.org. I'm sure you know this email, but we will write it also in the chat for you. And another note is that the conference is in English primarily because it's an international conference, but there is always interpretation to and from Arabic in all sessions. And also, we are welcoming contributions in Arabic. If anyone has would like to speak in Arabic, that is possible. So please do not hesitate to submit a proposal. The sessions, the types of sessions, we have the Makerspace sessions. We have short talks that will be compiled into panel sessions. There are workshop sessions. These are the types of sessions in NAMES conference. If you are specifically interested in a Makerspace session, one like those that Samar just described, we will now talk with Samar about how can someone put together a proposal for a contribution to the Makerspace. So Samar, what will be the first, where would anyone start? Where would an interested contributor who wants to be part of the Makerspace, where do they start?
The best place to start is to reflect on one's work. They can start to look at the value of what they are doing. And the value does not come in only from, long-time experienced people, because young who have young spaces in the sense of spaces that have been recently established, for example, this young experience is of great value. How do we start? So it's reflecting on one's practices that actually springs up and inspires what should I present. If one just reflects on the daily practices, on the pedagogy, on the challenges, on the achievements, on the success stories, with whom am I networking, what am I doing in my daily practices, these are different things that if you look at, a maker can find value in what he does or she does and what they are doing, and they can actually share those experiences. And each simple experience is a value. Like starting up a place, it's a place that has started up 1 or 2 years ago. That's a starting place. What were the challenges? How did it go? A place that have been working for 10 years. What are the experiences that they can bring in? Every experience is a value. So I'm inviting people here to look at what they practice, and I assure them that no matter how simple their practices are, bringing them forward and presenting them actually says that this is of value for me because this is specific for my space and for my culture from the place that I come in. And what they bring along with that simple thing is actually all the challenges that they have been through. So let's not belittle our experiences. The maker experience, the maker life, and the maker space is so dense. It's so rich. Somebody coming in with an idea might cause a rebel inside the maker space where everybody might get excited and they want to go and do and research and make and explore. So let's look on the value of what we do. That would be the first space I would look in. At the same time, there are, hot topics. There's a lot going on about technology. There's a lot going on about the value of culture. There are general topics that are being discussed in maker education. That is also important. There's a lot of discussion on where could making take place and what value does it bring. These are hot topics that one can find when researching about maker education and what's being discussed. And there's also a lot about research. So everything that goes on into a makerspace, starting from planning, everyday tasks with the audience, tasks with researchers, with networking and community, with pilgrims, even with special cases of need, all that goes on within the makerspace could be put forward into a proposal. The thing is, we together as a team, when we see all these proposals coming in for the makerspace, we don't look at them as individual proposals. We look at how can we collate them into one, um, uh, uh, I would say, image that would tell what comes out of makerspaces, what's happening in makerspaces. So don't worry, just present the ideas that you want to put forward, a simple proposal showing the idea that you want to put forward, how are you going to put it forward, and what would you think the benefits for participants in the conference would gain from it. Having that insight and that clarity in presenting these three things would actually help us as a community to put all our ideas then together and form and shape the different sessions that are going to be put forward and the titles in which they are going to be framed.
This actually answered some of my following questions, but I will rephrase them in case something could be elaborated. I was going to ask about how, we asked where to start, and you already started to also explain how people can think about their contribution. How will it, how will this idea will be shaped into a contribution proposal? How can they collaborate with other contributors? So generally, how is the process of developing the proposal goes? So if you can add some more on that.
Well, we expect that when we get the initial proposals, I think what we need as a community, we need to meet up and discuss. So we get the proposals, we will meet up as a community, we discuss our ideas and how can group them or shape them or organize them into a logic that would demonstrate our professional approaches. And then I think we go into things that are a little bit technical. Like I know that we will be lucky this year that Konya has a makerspace, and that makes life a little bit easier because you are already in a space that's expected to have at least a support in some tools. What we usually do as a community is we bring our own tools and material. That is, we ask from names to provide a few things, but at the same time, we bring things together with us. Like I always travel with two suitcases. One is for the makerspace, and one is personal, because we bring in examples of what we do. And even if I can't get an example, I take the different tools that I can make into an example, because in the makerspace, as I showed in my presentation, we put in examples of what we are talking about, like demos of what we are talking about. So we join in as a community. We discuss at the theoretical level, at the workshop level, at the tools and instrument level, and then at the design of the space. And what are we going to do? So who is going to be responsible for what? Because it's a sharing community. And usually when we bring in things, we bring in extras for others who can make use of them. And we give in tasks for each person who is willing to be involved in that community. So we rely on ourselves, and we create that makerspace as if it's a makerspace in any other place in the world, and that has been working for years, but it's just a 3-day makerspace. So as a community, and that's why community is and collaboration is very important. Together, we create that space with all the activities and all the ongoings that are going to be there. We share everything from a glue gun to a LED light to whatever, a tape. And, we will talk about that with the makers and set the different things. And of course, we know that NAMES is supporting having a makerspace, and Konya is also supporting us. So we are lucky in terms of space and material and equipment. So these are the steps. Just put on your ideas. We work on them as a community. We see what we need, and we plan our 3 days at NAMES.
So I will just summarize what we have arrived at this moment before we go into some final questions. So now, if you have any idea for a makerspace contribution, I just shared in the chat the link to the call for contributions on this 2024 website. But generally, what you have to do is to submit through a Google form that we have the link for on the website, or you can just send us by email your proposal for the contribution, for the Makerspace contribution. You can contribute by a theoretical talk that is 10 minutes long, or you can propose to lead a workshop, or you can present a case study, which is of a flexible format. So yeah, you choose what type of contribution you want to do to make, a theoretical or a practical, a 10-minute talk or a case study presentation or a workshop. And then you will have to tell us a short description of the workshop plan in steps, the deliverables that are expected or the learning outcomes, the number of attendees, especially if it's a workshop, how many people you can do the workshop with, the general setting for this workshop, how the tables and the chairs and the electricity needed will be like, the tools and the equipment you will need the host to provide you with, and the number of other presenters or facilitators for the session, if applicable. So these are the information that we need, and they are on NAME's 2024 website. Send us this information to propose a contribution for the Makerspace, whether through the Google form or by email. And then, as Samar said, the contributors, the community of the Makerspace will get together and will work together on developing these proposals into a coherent program for the Makerspace. And as Samar said, the host, Konya Science Center, they have a lovely Makerspace with lots of equipment. So I think it's going to be very easy to conduct Makerspace activities at Konya Science Center, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a very successful experience. So Samar, now if someone, we have covered the proposal, how people can think about a proposal and how to propose. So how do the proposals get evaluated by, you will be working with the program committee, the NAMES conference program committee. You will work with them on specifically on Makerspace contribution proposals. So how do you think the evaluation process will go?
Well, I would say that authenticity is the main thing. Because I don't want people to be intimidated by the details that are required in the proposal. But I would ask them to just calm down and start with what they want to present and take it step at a time, because it's important for us to see that what is being presented in the proposal is sort of coherent. It does reflect the intended idea, and that the form of presentation responds with the theme, of course, that's being put forward. But what I would also say is we do have the liberty within the conference and the preparation time to actually advise on, for example, if somebody says that I want to present this as a workshop and there's a lot of theory behind it, we would work with them on changing their format, maybe. So what we look at mainly is the value of what's being proposed, the idea, how it interacts with the form that is going to be presenting in, and what are the deliverables. If there's a coherence and what's being put forward actually sounds reasonable, we will look at it. And if not, there's also a chance of asking questions and working with the people who put in the proposals and maybe work on it, in an organic way. This is working organically in the sense that there is no, block that we want people to put themselves in. We want to collaborate with them into bringing their ideas into the space. So The main criteria is coherence in the proposal between the form, idea, and the deliverables so that we can start there into shaping things. And I think that people with different experiences um, um, reflecting and using reflection and the main tool to start on what they want to put forward in the conference will actually lead them into a good ideas and a coherent sessions.
Now, if someone is already accepted, the proposal is accepted, and they have worked online. Um, we have a question here about contributing online to the. I don't know if it's possible for a makerspace. We have not discussed it with the host, but maybe generally you can let us know if it's possible to contribute to the makerspace online.
Well, it depends if it's a panel session and a discussion and it's a theoretical workshop. Even, hybrid sessions could be done. I mean, some people could be doing the hands-on and they are collaborating with somebody who cannot attend, but they have something that they want to share. If the conference does allow online attendance, then in maker spaces, yeah, that would be also acceptable. It's possible. I mean, if I want to put in a presentation about a space or a learning theory or a practice or an activity or a contribution, I can do that. It could be part of a panel. It could also be a case study. It could also be part of a workshop, even. I mean, we've done workshops online, but I wouldn't think that online is workshops is feasible within the conference, but a hybrid where some of the team would be working on the workshop, another would be presenting is possible. It depends on the topic and the idea and the deliverables and all that, all those details.
So, as I was asking about for someone who has not been in a space international conference before, and we already talked about how they think about the proposal, how they think about the contribution and the session, and and you will work online together as a community to develop these sessions. But then what happens when they are actually preparing to travel to attend? Because I think this is something that we have to explain to people, because it's not just if you are attending a conference or even giving a talk, all you need is to get your personal stuff together and you just travel. So, what do people contributing to the makerspace should expect to be to have to prepare in
Mhm.
advance before traveling? What
Yeah.
give them an idea of the amount of not the amount, it's not something difficult, but I mean what kind of things they should think about.
Well, it's going into a makerspace conference is just like going into out of your makerspace to do an activity. You prepare your tools and material and equipment, you put them in a box, and you take them away and you do your workshop. It's the same thing. We take our tools, we take examples of what we work, and as I said before, if we can't do, I mean, at one of the conference I presented about marble runs, and I had to make an example which was like 1 meter by 70 centimeters. That's not something that I want to carry with me. I mean, there are sometimes restrictions in travel. Sometimes, if you have support and you want to transfer something, you can do that. But in my case, I couldn't. So actually, I asked for reused, cardboard, and that was there in the makerspace. And when I arrived, I just made that example. So these are details that we discuss when we join in as a group. But prepare yourself to get your tools and equipment, and no, not equipment, I would say materials and a few tools to bring them in, and prepare yourself to usually, as a maker group, we arrive 1 day before and we set our maker space. Like, I don't know if you have noticed, but you will see that when you refer to the slideshow, we make signs, we decorate, we put in our personal touch into the space. And we put in things that we want to discuss, we want to show. You can bring in printouts, you can print in pictures from your space that you would like to share and tell what is happening. So it's preparing for your trip as a personal thing. That's the usual, but prepare as if you are giving a workshop outside your makerspace.
I think it's some people have to the benefit of having a makerspace community is that people can ask who has what, who can bring what can travel, what cannot travel. Because I'm sure that some materials are difficult
Yes.
to carry, and so yeah, this is why we say that the makerspace community has to work together to figure all these items together before
Yeah,
they
I
travel.
mean, exactly. Some can, I mean, some can also bring extra things that they would like to share with the community. And usually we look for, and that is something that our friends in Konya might help us. We also look to around our conference area, what shops are there for DIY that we can pick up a few things if we get our luggage. Like and in 1 year I got my luggage delayed and I only got it when I got home 15 days later, so we had to run out as a community. I mean, I remember the team, everybody ran in a different direction and we got the tools that we needed for the activities. So things happen in travel and we as a community are prepared to help each other.
We are going to try to avoid as much
Yeah,
as
as much
possible.
as we can.
So what we do is that we ask people to tell us what they cannot bring and they need. So we see if the host can provide it. If not, we try to figure out where they can get it in advance so that people are relaxed and they are not rushed or stressed. We want it to be an enjoyable experience for everyone, and we are sure that our host will help us with that. So this next step is setting up. How is the maker space set up at the conference? Because it's not like because you need to set up things, as you showed us in your slides. So how does the setup go?
Actually, we start on planning that when we, the interaction as a community behind the scenes before getting to names has different stages. So one of them is working on the proposals and setting the program and having that done. We look on the, as we just said, on the list of materials and needs and equipment, and then we plan what are we going to put in that space. What are the ideas that we want to focus on and reflect in the space? How are we going to personalize the space? So we plan that together, and there are pedagogical messages that we focus on when we want to display or present or put different signs or examples around. So that also we build according to a theme. Like we want to focus on non-digital ideas. We want to focus on the value of the environment. So we let's say if we want to focus on the value of the environment, we ask to make all our signs and our stations with recycled material, for example. If we want to focus on design, so we bring in different examples of maybe vinyl cutters or 3D printers or laser cutters, and we display them around. So together as a community, we decide what would be our focus in creating the atmosphere around the makerspace, and how relevant is that going to be to what are we presenting. One of the things that we have in makerspaces is we always have that visual contact with items, with projects, with examples. And that visual contact is going to be done it's going to be made at Konya. And it depends on what are we focusing on in our program. It could be what we are focusing on as themes, or it could be an addition that we want to people also to look at, but we're not presenting. So we put it around so that we can have these corner discussions. Oh, what is this? There is no presentation about it, but this is something that I do in my space, and maybe next year I have more research about it and I can present it. So we agree as a community on what we are going to put around in the space, but usually we have themes, we have connections, we make it relevant to what's going to go on in the space.
Yeah, so maybe now we can also elaborate a bit now we can talk more about after the setup. So now you have set up the space and the conference starts. So you have sessions that have allocated time at the makerspace, but there are also other times when the makerspace is there, but there isn't a session.
Mhm.
What do the makers do? Of course, they can attend other sessions, but I mean, what happens in the makerspace in between sessions during
Well,
social time?
usually the makerspace is never empty. That is the case. So you would have somebody doing something there. Sometimes they are preparing for other sessions. Sometimes it's a slot open for public where people can just drop in and see what goes on. So as a community, usually we put in time slots. Who's going to be in the makerspace at this time and what are they going to do? And sometimes we even pronounce. Now we have a drop-in session that is, it just popped out. It's a pop-out session. So we have the community together, two people together got inspired of doing something. We can announce that and maybe put a sign outside the makerspace or maybe in the hall down that in that time, in that slot, there is no session in the program, but now something popped out. And together we're going to do that. If you're interested, you can just drop in. So usually the space is not kept empty. There are people there. We put in a program actually for that. We are very responsible people. And the thing is, we also keep on tidying the place. We put in our sessions. We have responsibilities of, we have volunteers with us from names to help us with that. But usually we prepare our sessions, we take apart what we do, and we help others in preparing their sessions. Because with hands on, there's lots of things that are going to be around. And we can't leave that. We have to be a bit organized in what we do. And that's the support that the community is supposed to give for each other. So we support each other in keeping the place working and functional as much as we support our teams in our maker spaces in keeping the space functional and welcoming all the time. So maybe we can have a station with a glue gun working all the time for people to fix things. Somebody has to be there all the time. Maybe a volunteer together with a maker. We will arrange that in a program.
So you mentioned that after between sessions, you work together as a community to organize the place. So what about the wrap up at the end of the conference?
Oh, yes, that's the most important party. Actually, the wrap up is a very important part where we take all the things that we brought in, we take what we own and take it away, but at the same time we reorganize the place. That's part of respecting our hosts. And what we have used and what we can support in getting back the place the way it was before we had that 3 day party. Yeah, we have to get things back into place. We are responsible people, we are a responsible community, and we know as makers the value of tidying up because um, that's part of. Actually, it's part of the learning experience, it's part of the reflective experience. It's not just a practice of tidying up, it's kind of wrapping up all the ideas and all the learning and all the interaction, networking that's been happening. We even say our goodbyes, and sometimes we even give gifts to each other, which are actually the examples. Sometimes we ask for, can I have this so that I can remember what's being done? Can I take it? And we do that as a community. It's part of the networking and sharing. So yeah, we do have to wrap up. We have to clean up the place and leave it as tidy as we can. It's part of our responsibility.
The last question I have, I don't have any more questions in the chat, so I will ask my last question, which is what happens next? So everyone goes home and then what?
Usually it doesn't stop there because one gets introduced to new people. And this is part of the benefit of coming to a conference. We build new ideas, we expand our own ideas, we get feedback on them. Um, Usually, we look at conferences like names and the makerspace activity there as a professional development opportunity. So it's apt to affect our practices, but the most important thing is that we get to know new people and we get to know what happens in new places. We go home with so many resources. Usually, we keep on connecting, not with everybody, I mean, but these are perspectives that could happen. And one of the most important practices that keeps on happening is that we try out different activities that are presented there. Like I got introduced into a new activity. I take that home and I try it. And one of the best thing is to get to the person who presented it and maybe send pictures or a reflection or I tried this and this is what happened with me. And the thing is, with this kind of communication, we built in for the next conference. So, what are we going to do in 2026? Would be our question. So, could we do collaborate on that and maybe present it next year? And this is how the community is created. It's by keeping that communication. So, as makers, we have this responsibility at Names to make things as exciting as and interesting as and as collaborative as possible to open up for future opportunities. This is how we learn, this is how we expand, and this is how our um, between bracket business grows. Um, it's about networking. So we hope that the community keeps on interacting. We hope that new projects come out, new collaborations, people get to know each other, interact.
Thank you, Summer. This was wonderful. You have elaborated and explained to us everything about the makerspace. I hope we have covered everything. And if anyone has any other questions, please send us by email as soon as possible. We are here. We can put you in contact with whoever you need to contact. And we look forward to your proposals before the 30th of November, because that's the deadline for the call for contribution proposals. And as Summer said, you just send us your idea as coherently as possible, and the group, the Makerspace community, will help each other develop the program, so you do not have to worry about it. And we look forward to a very successful Makerspace and conference in Konya, in Turkey, the 7th to 9th of May 2024. Again, the website and the email are in the chat. The link to the contribution is in the chat. And we look forward to seeing you all there in May. Thank you, Summer, so much. Thank you.
Thank you for that and hoping for the best to see everybody in and kick off this in our region.
Thank you. Okay, so see you all, and we'll be waiting for your proposals. Bye, everyone.
Bye.